Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Vegas 79, Rafael Fiziev versus Mateusz Gamrot, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. If you're interested in my full card predictions for this card, I will link it down in the description, as well as the end cards if you want to go check that out after this. But this lightweight main event, I absolutely love this fight, and I cannot wait for Rafael Fiziev versus Mateusz Gamrot. This is a banger lightweight contender fight, and this is a fight that a lot of hardcore fans have kind of fantasized about for the last 2 years or so, because we've watched Fiziev and Gamrot both climb up the lightweight ladder and move into the top 10 of the lightweight rankings. And it's been a fight because we've watched them both kind of rise up the rankings simultaneously. And we've always thought about this potential matchup, but we didn't want to kill off a certain contender. Now they've both had their big test in the UFC lightweight division. They've both come up short, and now we're matching them up against each other while they're both in the top 10 of the lightweight rankings. And this is a phenomenal matchup. Elite level striker in Rafael Fiziev versus elite level grappler in Mateusz Gamrot. And both of their losses, Rafael Fiziev came to Justin Gaethje. You have Gamrot, who came to Beneil Dariush. Neither one of those losses for either guy, I feel like, significantly decreased their stock. They had decent showings in both those fights. We'll talk about those fights in this video. But I feel like both guys are still contenders in the lightweight division, especially if Islam Makhachev wins at UFC 294 in the rematch against Charles Oliveira. There's not a long list of contenders ready for a lightweight title shot. After Charles Oliveira, if he loses the rematch, you got Justin Gaethje, and then really we're waiting for the next lightweight contender to emerge. Even though the division is very stacked, right now there's not a clear-cut next contender outside of maybe an Alexander Volkanovski coming back up to the lightweight division. So whoever wins between Rafael Fiziev and Mateusz Gamrot, I don't think they're going to be fighting for a title in their next fight, but I think their next fight could legit be a #1 contender fight. I think had Rafael Fiziev defeated Justin Gaethje back in March of this year, I think there's a chance Charles Oliveira wouldn't have got the title shot in October at UFC 294. It could have been Fiziev in there, but unfortunately for Fiziev, he lost that fight. But either way, what I'm trying to say here is this fight isn't necessarily a #1 contender fight, but I think this fight, whoever wins this fight, they're going to be very, very close to a lightweight title shot, especially if Islam Makhachev wins at UFC 294, because if he loses, you probably have the trilogy, but if he wins, you really have Gaethje and Volk kind of lingering out there. The winner of this fight probably goes on and has one more big fight, another main event in a fight night card or a big co-main event on a pay-per-view. And then if they win that fight, if Islam Makhachev is still the champion, you don't have any crazy circumstances going on in the lightweight division, they're probably going to be the #1 contender. And this is some of the new blood we've been wanting in the lightweight division. So I'm so excited for this matchup. If you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, you have Rafael Fiziev, who is 12-2. You have Mateusz Gamrot, 22-2 overall record. Fiziev is ranked number 6. Gamrot is ranked number 7 in the UFC official rankings. Fiziev is 30 years old. Gamrot is 32 years old. Fiziev is 5'8". Gamrot is 5'10". Fiziev has a 71.5-inch reach, and Gamrot has a 70.5-inch reach. So a 2-inch height advantage for Gamrot and a 1-inch reach advantage for Rafael Fiziev. If you look at Mateusz Gamrot's overall pro MMA record, of his 22 wins, 7 by KO, TKO, 5 by submission, 10 by decision. Both of his pro MMA losses are via decision. He comes into this fight after a win over Jalen Turner that he took on short notice at UFC 285 in March earlier this year. And he went out there and just out-grappled Jalen Turner. There were some moments where Jalen Turner, it seemed like he was putting Gamrot in trouble, landing some good shots, but ultimately Gamrot just went back to the grappling, went back to the chain wrestling, was able to get Jalen Turner down, control him a bit, and win a decision that way. It was a split decision. I thought it was pretty clear that Gamrot won, but some people thought maybe you could have gave it to Jalen Turner because there was some significant damage done by Jalen Turner. But I don't really think you can take too much away from this fight, because not only did Gamrot only take it on a couple weeks' notice, Jalen Turner took it on a couple weeks' notice. So it was really hard to kind of gauge, okay, how did Gamrot look in this fight? Because the cardio didn't look that good, but we've seen him go 5 rounds with Arman Tsarukyan not that long ago. So the cardio didn't look good because of the short notice. And then also he just didn't look as good on the ground, but it's because he took this fight on such short notice against an absolute killer who was ranked behind him in Jalen Turner. So I still think it's a quality win, but there's not a whole lot of takeaways from that. The fight before that was his big step up in competition against Beneil Dariush. Had he won this fight, he would have been in a great spot in the lightweight division. Unfortunately, he loses a lot of crazy scrambles in this fight. Beneil Dariush basically just able to keep it standing and outstrike Mateusz Gamrot. Mateusz Gamrot, if he can't get you to the ground and just dominate you with the grappling, he has trouble with the stand-up. He doesn't have particularly good boxing. He has okay kicks, and Beneil Dariush kind of exposed him in this fight where, okay, you can't get me down and hold me down. Now you're going to have to strike with me. And Gamrot, I'll tell you one thing, he showed off a crazy chin in this fight because Beneil Dariush caught him with a nasty shot that put him down. That honestly, watching back that replay, it would have probably KO'd a lot of people. Took that shot, continued to fight. I don't think it was the worst ever showing for him, but Beneil Dariush showed that if you can stuff those takedowns and keep it on the feet, then Mateusz Gamrot's going to have a lot of trouble with you. You look at the fight before that, probably his best win against Arman Tsarukyan. And I say it's his best win, but I thought he lost this fight. I believe it was the 4th round where Tsarukyan, if he got that 4th round, and I might be mistaken on the round, had he got that 4th round, he would have won the fight. And a judge didn't give him that 4th round. And in that 4th round, he literally dropped Gamrot. So it made no sense that he didn't give Tsarukyan that fight. But nonetheless, this was an amazing fight. It was a highly competitive fight. There was a lot of great scrambles in this fight. And Gamrot won it with his grappling as well with his kicks. His striking still left a lot to be desired, but Tsarukyan himself doesn't have the best boxing. But nonetheless, I thought Gamrot lost this fight. And then you look at the resume before that, not the best competition. Diego Ferreira, Jeremy Stephens, Scott Holtzman. Decent wins, but not the greatest competition. And then he lost his UFC debut against Guram Kutateladze. And honestly, I thought he won that fight, and Guram thought he won that fight as well. So there's not much to look at there. And overall, decent UFC resume. You look at Rafael Fiziev. Of his 12 pro MMA wins, 8 by knockout or TKO, 1 by submission, and 3 by decision. He comes into this fight after a loss to Justin Gaethje back in March at UFC 286, the Edwards-Usman 3 card. Very close competitive fight. I thought that Justin Gaethje did enough to win the 2nd and 3rd round, particularly the 3rd round. Fiziev really got busted up with that jab. 1st round was clearly Rafael Fiziev's. I know there's some people debating about the 2nd round, and it was a close round, but I thought Gaethje took that round. I thought it was pretty clear. But either way, this isn't a horrible loss. To have a very close competitive fight with someone like Justin Gaethje, I don't think it's really a big knock on you. And the fact that people are even arguing you potentially won that fight, I think there's something to be said for that. But had Fiziev won this fight, he would have been in such a good spot in the lightweight division. Look where Gaethje is now. He just won the fake BMF belt against Dustin Poirier, put Dustin Poirier out cold. So Rafael Fiziev went 3 hard rounds with him in a very close competitive fight, but a very good showing from Fiziev in this fight, even though he inevitably lost to Justin Gaethje. The fight before that, he fought Rafael Dos Anjos, and I know Dos Anjos is a bit on the decline, but Fiziev showed great cardio in this fight, and he also showed very good takedown defense. I think he only got taken down 1 time in this fight. It was at the end of the 4th round. And outside of that, he did very well in the clinch, even bullied Rafael Dos Anjos in the clinch a bit in this fight as well. So he showed off the cardio, he showed off the defensive grappling in this fight, and then he found the KO finish in the 5th round. People were complaining it was an early stoppage. It was actually a perfect stoppage. Rafael Dos Anjos was out cold. Before that, wheel kick KO over Brad Riddell. Before that, a win over Bobby Green. People questioned his cardio in this fight because he did start to get tired in that 3rd round and even lost that 3rd round. But it was because of the output. The output was crazy in that fight. That's why he got tired. Before that, absolutely starched Renato Moicano. I mean, it was a nasty, nasty win over Renato Moicano. And that really put Rafael Fiziev on the map. And then if you skip down, his last loss before Justin Gaethje was all the way back in April of 2019 against Magomed Mustafayev. He just got caught badly and got finished. And honestly, if they run that back, Rafael Fiziev would win that fight. The majority of 9 times out of 10, Rafael Fiziev would win that fight. I think he's the clearly better fighter. And even since then, obviously, it's now 4 years later. He's evolved vastly, and you see where they're at in their careers. So Rafael Fiziev, the big question in this fight is, can he stuff the takedowns of Mateusz Gamrot? This is your typical striker versus grappler matchup. Can Gamrot be successful with the grappling? And can Fiziev just keep it standing? Because at the end of the day, if Fiziev can keep it standing, it's not even close on the feet. Rafael Fiziev, so technical, unbelievable kickboxing, unbelievable just variety of attacks, whether it be spinning wheel kicks like he did to Brad Riddell, nasty body shots, nasty leg kicks. I mean, Gamrot just does not have a chance if this fight is kept on the feet. But if Gamrot can be effective with the grappling, if he can get Fiziev down, get some control time, or even just have Fiziev so frozen on the feet because maybe Gamrot, let's just say hypothetically, takes him down, midway through the first round and Fiziev can't get up. He could have Fiziev so worried about the takedowns that Gamrot could have some success on the feet, but it all comes down to the grappling of Mateusz Gamrot. And I really think that this fight, there's just not a lot of paths to victory for Mateusz Gamrot. Basically, he has to wrestle to a decision, or he has to wrestle so much that in the later rounds, maybe the 4th or 5th round, he could find a submission against Rafael Fiziev because Fiziev is so exhausted from defending all the takedowns and all the chain wrestling and all the scrambles. I really think that's the two paths to victory for Mateusz Gamrot. For Fiziev, I feel like he can stuff the takedowns and win a decision. I feel like he can KO or TKO him. I don't see Fiziev submitting him, but I just see more paths to victory for Rafael Fiziev. And I think Mateusz Gamrot, because he's so limited on the feet, it's going to be harder for him to set up those takedowns. And Fiziev, he is at a little bit of a disadvantage because the apex cage is smaller. So Gamrot has, it's a smaller cage. He can close the distance easier. But I just think Fiziev showed very good grappling against RDA. And of course, RDA is on the decline. But I think if he showed that in a 5-round fight against RDA, I think he'll be all right stuffing the takedowns of Gamrot. And there's no doubt in my mind, that's all he's been training all camp is takedown defense. So for my official prediction, I am going Rafael Fiziev, 3rd round TKO. I just think Gamrot is just going to be shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. And Fiziev is just going to be lighting him up on the feet. And I think Fiziev is going to take it slow early. He's not going to overextend, but really he never overextends. He's super technical on the feet. And I think early he's going to be a little bit conscious of overextending and throwing too many kicks. And he's just going to kind of use his striking and set up those shots and be super technical with his hands. And then as he starts to get more comfortable and he's shaking off a couple takedowns from Gamrot and he's battled in a couple clinch positions with Gamrot, he's just going to get more and more comfortable. And then he's just going to start to open up more and more with the variety of attacks. And I just don't think Gamrot has the striking arsenal to go toe-to-toe with Rafael Fiziev. The power of Fiziev, the dynamic striking of Fiziev is just something that Gamrot can't match. He doesn't really have any hands. Gamrot has some good leg kicks, some good body kicks, but outside of that, he relies on his grappling far too much. I think Beneil Dariush is a massively overrated. I thought he was overrated going into the Charles Oliveira fight. I thought Charles Oliveira would starch Beneil Dariush, and I don't think he's a bum by any means, but I don't think his striking is that good. It's very slow, it's very labored, and I don't even think it holds a candle to Rafael Fiziev's striking. Now, Beneil Dariush went out there and outstrike Gamrot easily, as long as he was able to stuff the takedowns and avoid the scrambles. I think Fiziev, once he starts getting comfortable stuffing those takedowns, I don't think that Gamrot can be competitive with him on the feet. I think Fiziev is going to be lighting him up, and it's slowly going to get worse and worse for Gamrot as the rounds go on. Maybe the first round's a little bit more competitive because Fiziev's a little bit more conservative with the amount of strikes and volume that he throws because he doesn't want to risk getting taken down. But as the fight goes on, I think Fiziev will start to open up. I think he's going to catch him with some big shots and eventually finish him in the 3rd round. I do wonder, though, Gamrot is very relentless with his takedowns. If he just keeps shooting in on takedowns and he keeps, even if Fiziev is defending them, if Gamrot has the cardio, we saw him go scramble for scramble with Arman Tsarukyan. If he keeps making Fiziev fight him off, he doesn't give Fiziev a lot of time to land the strikes on the outside, and then also it may pay dividends later in the fight. I could see a fight play out where Fiziev kind of wins the first 2 rounds, but they're kind of uneventful because Gamrot's constantly shooting, but Fiziev is defending well and then outstriking him a little bit on the outside. But then as that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round come, because Fiziev's not used to doing so much grappling and so much defensive, wrestling, he could get exhausted, maybe start to succumb to some takedowns in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. But ultimately, I think Fiziev is just too good on the feet. I think he knows exactly what Mateusz Gamrot is going to try to do in this fight, and it's just going to be spam takedowns over and over and over again. And he doesn't even have necessarily the best entries. It's not like Gamrot's so fast at closing the distance. He's just really good once he gets a hold of you to really just chain everything together. If he gets you up against the fence, he switches from doubles to singles to different trips. And I just think Fiziev's going to be prepared for that. And once Gamrot can't get the takedown, it's going to be over for him on the feet. So I think it'll start off kind of competitive because Fiziev will be a little bit worried about those takedowns. But as the fight goes on, I think Fiziev's going to open up more, land more combinations, and eventually in the third round is going to catch him with some type of counter shot as Gamrot moves in to look to land a takedown. I think Fiziev hurts him badly, follows him to the ground, and finishes him with ground and pound shots. Third round TKO, Rafael Fiziev over Mateusz Gamrot. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.